do tattoos look like when you're old? Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you what happens during the tattoo process and the aging process, some updated concepts when it comes to the way that we implant tattoo pigment, and at the end, I'm going to share with you a cool bit of information about what's going to happen to you when you're old and tattooed. Now, during the tattoo process, we use a needle to stab ink molecules into the dermis layer of your skin. That's below the epidermis. Now, what happens during that process is your immune system rushes to these foreign materials, and your macrophage from your immune system gobble up those ink molecules. Now, those ink molecules are so big that it basically keeps the macrophage from moving and gets stuck there. Thus, you have tattoos that tend to stay in one location. Now, over time, those macrophage will die, and then another one will come along and eat that same molecule. Now, what can happen to attack that molecule more frequently is if you're getting a lot of abuse, sun, or aging. You see, over time, your cells are always regenerating. So it's every 8 to 9 years, you're literally in a new body. But what's crazy to think about are those tattoos that you got 8 years ago are still the same tattoos, even though you're in a whole new body. Pretty cool, huh? During this process, there may be a little bit of shifting over time, meaning those ink molecules that are nice and tight together, maybe as the macrophage are dying, they maybe spread them out a little bit. That's why if you ever see like those tattoos by like old World War I or Vietnam veterans, and they have those super blown out blurry tattoos, that's because over time, those molecules have migrated throughout different areas of that skin where the tattoo was. Now, the difference between when those tattoos were done in World War II and Vietnam versus today is the process. Back then it was all about get her in there, right? Bowl the hole, put as much as you could, slam that needle on there and jab as much pigment as you can so it's nice and solid. We don't do that so much anymore. We put the optimal amount of pigment per square inch. So that way, over time, as your body heals and grows and shifts, those molecules won't spread out as much as they once did. Simultaneously, we're using different types of needle groupings, meaning some needles have anywhere from 3 to 7 needles grouped into a cluster, injecting those ink molecules. And we ensure that we're putting the right size needle in your skin with the right amount of pigment into that area so it doesn't migrate too much. Now, I mentioned the sun can damage your skin, of course, but then the other things that could damage your skin as well, your lifestyle. A tattoo is a pretty flesh wound, and a flesh wound requires, your immune system to work to heal it. So if your immune system is suppressed, this will affect the healing process, meaning your tattoo won't heal as well. And if it doesn't heal really well, then it won't settle in well either. And this can have negative effects over time. Again, if the area didn't heal well, some of the pigment could have come out, and thus leaving some gaps in that skin, so then the tattoo looks faded. Or your skin could be compromised, meaning your skin is frail and maybe a little thin, and it's easy to cut open that flesh, and too much ink will be pushed into that area, which can cause a blowout. Now, a blowout is where too much pigment gets stuck into that one particular area, and you have this cluster, this large amount of pigment in there that can migrate over time and create those blurs. But this should be something a professional tattoo artist should be aware of and mitigate that problem. Now, really, what a tattoo is going to look like when you're old? Well, that's a good question because I get it. Some of the old tattoos we see nowadays are pretty blown out and blurry. But if you go find someone who's had tattoos with 50, 60 plus years that have gone to some of the badass professionals of their time, their tattoos may be a little faded, but they're still beautiful. I guarantee you that a tattoo that's slightly faded will still look way nicer than all those liver spots, wrinkles, and cellulite. So it's so important that you take care of your body and you go seek out a professional who knows how to inject the proper amount of ink molecules per square inch and are planning that your tattoo will look good for a long time. And it's so cool to have tattoos over a long period because they're your personal timeline. And then one day it'll be great to sit down with your grandkids and maybe great grandkids and tell them about how you got this tattoo in Tijuana, or how you got this other tattoo when you were getting out of college, or got this tattoo when you married your great or your wife. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what do tattoos look like when you're old? They look badass.